The warning unheeded. Captain Elara Reed stood at the observation deck of Sentinel Station, Earth's most advanced defense platform orbiting the moon. The stars gleamed like distant promises in the vast emptiness of space. 20 years of service had taught her to appreciate these moments of quiet. They never lasted long. "Captain, we're detecting an anomaly at the edge of the solar system," Lieutenant Marcus Chen called from his station. His voice remained steady, but Reed detected the underlying tension. Something big just dropped out of FTL near Neptune. Reed strode to the main console, her boots clicking against the polished floor. The holographic display showed a massive vessel, at least 5 times larger than anything in Earth's fleet, moving with deliberate purpose toward the inner planets. "Scan configuration and energy signatures," she ordered, "and open standard first contact channels." "Already on it," Chen replied. His fingers danced across the console. "The ship's power output is incredible. I've never seen anything like it." Reed studied the readings with a deepening frown. Humanity had encountered 11 alien species since developing FTL travel 60 years ago. Most were peaceful, some cautiously neutral. None had approached Earth with a warship of this magnitude. "We're receiving a transmission," announced Communications Officer Leila Patel. "Audio and visual." "On screen," Reed said, straightening her uniform. The main display flickered, revealing a being with iridescent blue-gray skin, 4 vertical slits for eyes, and a mouth that seemed permanently frozen in a grimace. Bony ridges crowned its elongated head. "I am Supreme Commander Xarak of the Xeraxian Empire," the alien announced without preamble. Its voice had an unnatural harmonic quality, as though multiple beings spoke in unison. "Your species has been evaluated and found interesting. Your territories and resources are now under consideration for integration into our domain." Reed maintained her composure. "Commander Xarak, I am Captain Elara Reed of the Earth Defense Fleet. We welcome peaceful contact with new civilizations, but we must insist on mutual respect and recognition of sovereignty." The alien's head tilted slightly. "Sovereignty is earned through power, Captain. Your species has existed in space for mere decades. The Xeraxian Empire has ruled the stars for 15 millennia. We do not seek permission. We inform." Reed felt her jaw tighten. "Perhaps you should learn more about humans before making assumptions, Commander. We may be young among the stars, but we have much to teach about resilience and determination. We have studied your broadcasts and historical records." Xarak replied dismissively, "A fractious species that has barely united its own world. You have potential, which is why we offer integration rather than eradication. Be grateful." "I suggest you study our history more carefully," Reed said, "particularly how humans respond to threats. This is not a threat. It is inevitability. We will arrive at your homeworld in 7 Earth days. Prepare your leaders for negotiation." The transmission cut abruptly. Reed turned to her senior staff, who had gathered around the command center. Their faces reflected a mixture of shock, anger, and resolve. "Send the Prometheus protocol," she ordered. Lieutenant Chen looked up sharply. "The full package, Captain. We've never had to use that before." "They need to understand who they're dealing with," Reed said firmly. The Prometheus protocol was developed after humanity's first encounters with alien civilizations. Earth's diplomatic corps had noticed that while humans were technologically younger than many species, they possessed something unique, an unmatched history of warfare against themselves. For thousands of years, humans had perfected the art of conflict by practicing on each other. The protocol contained a comprehensive history of Earth's wars, strategies, and most importantly, humanity's unyielding refusal to surrender when threatened, even against overwhelming odds. As Chen transmitted the package, Admiral Hiroshi Tanaka joined them via secure channel from Earth Command. "I've been monitoring the situation," Tanaka said, his weathered face grim. "The Security Council is meeting now. What's your assessment, Captain?" "They're arrogant and dismissive, sir," Reed replied. They view us as primitives barely worth acknowledging. I've sent the Prometheus protocol, but given their attitude, I don't expect it to change their approach." Tanaka nodded. "Then we prepare for the worst while hoping for better. I'm activating Defense Plan Omega. All ships are to be ready for combat operations within 12 hours. News of the Xeraxian contact spread across Earth and its colonies on Mars, Titan, and Europa. Military installations went to high alert while civilian populations were briefed on possible evacuation procedures. Politicians debated responses while military commanders prepared for conflict. 3 days later, the Xeraxians responded to the Prometheus protocol. "Your historical records are impressive for such a young species," Commander Xerak acknowledged, his tone unchanged. "But you should understand that the Xeraxian Empire has subjugated 47 worlds across 17 star systems. None have successfully resisted us." "There's always a first," Reed countered. "To demonstrate the futility of resistance, we will provide a small demonstration of our capabilities." The transmission ended. Moments later, alarms blared throughout Sentinel Station. "Captain," Chen shouted, "they're targeting our research outpost on Titan." Reed watched in horror as a beam of concentrated energy lanced from the Xeraxian vessel toward Saturn's largest moon. The outpost housed 247 scientists and support staff studying Titan's methane lakes and potential for terraforming. The beam struck with surgical precision. On the monitor, the biodomes collapsed in silent destruction. No distress signals followed. They're all gone," Patel whispered, her voice breaking. Cold fury settled in Reed's chest. The Xeraxians had ignored their warning. They had murdered innocent people to make a point. They thought this would force Earth to surrender. They had made a catastrophic miscalculation. "Send an encrypted message to all fleet commanders," Reed ordered, her voice deadly calm. "The Xeraxians have attacked without provocation and murdered our people. As of this moment, we are at war." Admiral Tanaka appeared on screen, his expression mirroring Reed's controlled rage. "They ignored our warning," he said. "Now they'll learn what humans do when cornered." Within hours, Earth's response took shape, but not as the Xeraxians expected. Rather than consolidating forces around Earth or launching a frontal assault, humanity's fleet scattered. Ships vanished from Xeraxian sensors, disappearing into the asteroid belt, hiding in gas-giant atmospheres, or powering down near inactive comets. On board the stealth frigate Phantom, Captain Reed led a small task force deep into the outer solar system. Her ship had been retrofitted with experimental cloaking technology that bent light and absorbed sensor waves, making it nearly invisible to detection. "They expect us to either fight conventionally or surrender," Reed explained to her crew. "We'll do neither. Instead, we become ghosts. We watch. We learn. We strike only when we can win." Lieutenant Commander Davi Santos, her tactical officer, studied the Xeraxian fleet movements on a holographic display. "They're spreading thin, Captain. Establishing bases on several moons and asteroids, creating supply lines back to their main vessel." "Exactly as Admiral Tanaka predicted," Reed nodded. "They've never faced an enemy that didn't either attack head-on or immediately surrender. They don't understand humans at all." For the next 2 days, the Phantom silently tracked Xeraxian movements, recording their communication patterns, shield frequencies, and weapons capabilities. Similar intelligence operations were being conducted by other stealth vessels across the solar system. "Their shield technology pulses," Santos reported after analyzing the data. "There's a microsecond gap between cycles, 0.037 seconds to be exact." "Not much time," Reed mused. "No, but enough for our new quantum torpedoes if we time it precisely." Reed smiled grimly. "And their sensors? Advanced, but with significant blind spots. They can't penetrate dense asteroid fields or gas giant atmospheres effectively, and they rely heavily on active scanning. They're not looking for ships running silent." The intelligence from all stealth vessels flowed back to Earth Command, where Admiral Tanaka and his strategists formulated a response unlike anything the Xeraxians had encountered before. Meanwhile, aboard the Xeraxian command ship, Supreme Commander Xerac grew increasingly irritated. 5 days had passed since the demonstration on Titan, yet the humans had neither surrendered nor launched the suicidal frontal assault he had anticipated. "Where are their ships?" he demanded of his sensor officer. "Our scans show their vessels have scattered. They appear to be hiding." "Supreme Commander," the officer replied nervously, using natural features of their solar system to mask their presence. "Hiding?" Xerac scoffed. "From us? Impossible. Our sensors are the most sophisticated in the known galaxy." His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vezek, approached cautiously. "Supreme Commander, perhaps we should consider the information they sent us more carefully. Their historical records suggest—" "I care nothing for the history of primitives," Xerac interrupted. "They cannot hide forever. We proceed with our plan. Prepare the main fleet to move toward Earth. They will not sacrifice their homeworld." As the Xeraxian fleet began its advance toward the inner solar system, they remained unaware of the shadow following them. Captain Reed's Phantom, recording every movement, every communication, every vulnerability. Reed watched the massive alien armada through specialized viewing filters. "They still don't know we're here," she whispered to Santos. "Keep recording everything. Every scan, every shield frequency." "Their communications are strange," reported Ensign Javier Rodriguez from the communication station. "They use a form of quantum entanglement we've never seen before, but I'm starting to detect patterns." "Can you break their encryption?" Reed asked. Rodriguez grinned. "Already working on it. Give me a few more hours." Reed nodded and turned back to the viewport. The Xeraxians thought humanity would follow predictable patterns, either fight and die, or surrender and live as subjects. They had no concept of what humans could become when their existence was threatened. "Prepare the quantum beacon," she ordered. "We need to send all this data back to Fleet Command." Across the solar system, humanity was transforming from prey into predators. The hunters were about to become the hunted, and the Xeraxians would soon learn why they should have heeded humanity's warning. The hunters become the hunted. Supreme Commander Xerac stood on the command deck of the Dominion, his flagship that dwarfed even the largest human vessels. The holographic display before him showed the Xeraxian fleet's inexorable advance toward Earth. 6 days had passed since their demonstration on Titan, and still the humans neither surrendered nor engaged in direct combat. "This is not how conquest usually proceeds," he complained to Sub-Commander Vezek. "By now they should be begging for terms or launching futile attacks against our superior firepower." "Perhaps they are more primitive than we estimated," Vezek suggested. "They may lack the strategic understanding to recognize their situation." "Perhaps," Derek said, unconvinced. "What is the status of our forward outposts?" "We have established bases on Mars' moon Phobos, several asteroids in the main belt, and Jupiter's moon Callisto. Supply lines are operational, and—" An alarm cut him off. Then another and another. "Commander," the sensor officer called out, panic evident in his voice. "We've lost contact with our outpost on Phobos." Xerac spun toward the display. "How? What happened?" "Unknown, sir. One moment they were transmitting routine status reports, the next, nothing." Before Xerac could respond, another alert sounded. "We've lost contact with Outpost 7 in the asteroid belt," the communications officer reported. "And Outpost 3. And Outpost 12. Vezek's 4 eyes widened. "That's impossible. Those outposts are scattered across millions of kilometers. They couldn't all fail simultaneously unless they're under coordinated attack," Xerac finished grimly. "Battle stations. Dispatch scout vessels to each outpost immediately." But the scout vessels found only debris where the outposts had stood. No survivors, no witnesses, no explanation. On Earth, Admiral Tanaka and his war council reviewed the initial strikes with grim satisfaction. The plan had worked perfectly. Small, fast attack vessels had simultaneously struck 7 Xeraxian outposts across the solar system, taking out communications first, then defenses, then life support. Each strike team had precisely timed their attacks to exploit the 0.037-second gap in the Xeraxian shield cycles. First blood to humanity, Tanaka said, studying the holographic display showing the locations of the destroyed outposts. But this is just the beginning. The Xeraxians will adapt quickly. They already are, confirmed General Sophia Kwan, pointing to updated intelligence. They'd doubled the guards at their remaining outposts and altered their shield frequencies, but not their patrol patterns, noted Captain Jefferson Davis of Naval Intelligence. They're still thinking conventionally, increase defenses, but maintain the same strategic approach. Tanaka nodded, which gives us our next opportunity: the supply lines. For the Xeraxians, the sudden loss of multiple outposts was incomprehensible. Their empire had conquered dozens of worlds, always following the same effective pattern: demonstrate overwhelming force, establish strategic positions, advance methodically toward the enemy homeworld. The pattern had never failed, until now. How did they do it? Sarek demanded, reviewing the meager data from the destroyed outposts. Even if they coordinated attacks, our shields should have held. The data suggests they somehow bypassed our shields, Vezek replied cautiously. But that should be impossible. Our technology is centuries beyond theirs. Clearly, we've underestimated these humans. Xerac growled. Increase patrols along supply routes. Double shield generators on all remaining outposts. And accelerate our timeline. We move on Earth in 24 hours, not 48. Meanwhile, aboard the stealth frigate Phantom, Captain Reed reviewed the success of the initial strikes with her officers. Phase 1 complete, she reported to her crew. But the Xeraxians are already adapting. They've changed their shield frequencies. Not a problem, Santos replied confidently. Our analysis shows their shield technology can only operate within certain harmonic ranges. They've changed the frequency, but the pulse gap remains. Reed nodded. And their supply vessels. Moving in predictable patterns, but with more escorts now, answered Lieutenant Nadia Volkov, their navigation officer. They're still thinking like a conventional military force. Strength in numbers, visible deterrence. They still don't understand what they're facing, Reed said. Prepare for Phase 2. We hit their supply lines next. Over the next 18 hours, Xeraxian supply vessels began disappearing. Not all at once, but one by one, at unpredictable intervals. Some vanished in the asteroid belt, others near Jupiter's moons. A few simply failed to arrive at their destinations with no trace of what happened to them. The humans had adopted a hunting strategy unlike anything the Xeraxians had encountered. Small stealth ships would track a target for hours, sometimes days, learning its patterns before striking with devastating precision. The attacks were never the same twice. Sometimes they used quantum torpedoes timed to the shield pulse. Other times they deployed specialized drones that attached to hull plates and burned through with molecular acid. Occasionally, they simply positioned space mines along routes after calculating exactly when a Xeraxian vessel would pass. The Xeraxians found themselves in an unprecedented situation, being hunted by a technically inferior species they had dismissed as primitives. This is unacceptable. Xerac raged, smashing his fist against the command console. How can they be evading our sensors? How are they coordinating these attacks? We're not sure, Supreme Commander, his chief scientist admitted. Their stealth technology appears more advanced than we estimated, and they're using the natural features of their solar system with remarkable effectiveness. I want answers, not excuses. Double sensor suites, change patrol routes randomly, and prepare the main weapon. We will accelerate our demonstration to Earth itself. But as the Xeraxians shifted strategies, the humans adapted faster. When the Xeraxians began changing patrol routes, human stealth vessels simply shadowed them longer before striking. When the aliens increased sensor suites, Earth's ships developed new countermeasures, absorbing or deflecting the scan pulses. Admiral Tanaka recognized the critical moment had arrived. "It's time for Phase 3, he announced to his War Council. "Captain Reed's intelligence suggests they're preparing to target Earth directly. We need to strike their main fleet before they can deploy their primary weapon." "Their main fleet still outguns us significantly," General Kwan pointed out. "Even with our stealth advantages, a direct confrontation would be costly. Which is why we won't fight fair," Tanaka replied with a grim smile. "It's time to deploy the Aegis Protocol." The Aegis Protocol was humanity's secret weapon, a revolutionary shield technology that didn't just block enemy fire but adapted to it. Each hit made the shield stronger against that specific energy frequency. The technology had been in development for decades, but had never been field-tested in actual combat. Until now, Captain Reed received the deployment codes for Aegis on the Phantom while hiding in Neptune's upper atmosphere. Her ship would lead a task force of 20 vessels in the first direct engagement with the Xeraxian main fleet. "This is it," she told her crew during the final briefing. "Admiral Tanaka is confident the Aegis shields will work, but they're untested in actual combat. If they fail, we'll be outgunned and exposed." "Then we better not fail," Santos said simply. His confidence echoed in the determined faces around the table. The human task force emerged from hiding in carefully coordinated waves. The first vessels appeared near Jupiter, seeming to flee in disarray when the Xeraxians detected them. The aliens took the bait, dispatching a significant portion of their fleet in pursuit. "They're splitting their forces," Reed observed from the Phantom's command deck. "Just as we hoped." The second wave of human ships appeared near Saturn, drawing away another segment of the Xeraxian fleet. Finally, Reed gave the order for the Phantom and its accompanying vessels to power up and emerge from Neptune's clouds. "All ships, this is Captain Reed," she transmitted on the secure channel. "Activate Aegis shields and prepare to engage. Remember your training. They outnumber us, but we understand them better than they understand themselves." The battle near Neptune began with the Xeraxians confident in their superior firepower. Their massive vessels unleashed devastating energy beams against the human ships. The first hits struck the Aegis shields, causing them to flare brilliantly, but hold. And with each hit, the shields adapted, strengthening against that specific energy signature. "It's working," Santos exclaimed as the tactical display showed the shields automatically reconfiguring. "Their weapons are becoming less effective with each volley." Reed nodded, maintaining her focus. "All ships, commence attack pattern Themis. Target their propulsion systems first, weapons second." The human vessels moved with coordinated precision, darting between the larger Xeraxian ships and exploiting their slower turning rates. Quantum torpedoes fired in precisely timed sequences penetrated the momentary shield gaps, striking engines and weapon ports. Aboard the Dominion, Xerac watched in growing horror as the battle unfolded. "How are they doing this? Their shields should have collapsed under our first barrage." "Their shield technology," Vezek reported, studying the sensor readings in disbelief. "It's learning, adapting to our weapons in real time." "Impossible." Xerac slammed his fist down again. No species at their technological level could develop such capabilities. But the evidence was undeniable. The human ships not only survived the initial onslaught, but were now systematically disabling Xeraxian vessels. Not destroying them, disabling them. Taking out propulsion, weapons, and communication systems with surgical precision. "They want prisoners," Vezek realized aloud. "They're not trying to annihilate us. They're capturing our ships intact." Xerac felt something he had never experienced in his centuries of military service. Fear. The humans had warned them. They had sent detailed histories of their warfare, their persistence, their ability to adapt and overcome against overwhelming odds. The Xeraxians had dismissed it as primitive posturing. Now they understood their error. "Order all vessels to regroup," Xerac commanded, his voice no longer carrying its usual authority. We must consolidate our forces. But it was too late. The human strategy had worked perfectly. With the Xeraxian fleet scattered across 3 separate engagements, they could not support each other. One by one, alien vessels fell silent, their engines dead, their weapons offline. Within 6 hours, the Battle of Neptune was over. 14 Xeraxian vessels had been disabled, their crews captured. 3 had been destroyed when they attempted suicide runs rather than surrender. The rest, including the Dominion, managed to retreat, but their formidable fleet was now reduced to less than half its original strength. For the first time in Xeraxian history, they had not only failed to conquer, they had been decisively defeated. 2 days later, Supreme Commander Xerac stood on the command deck of the Dominion, staring at the holographic image of Admiral Tanaka. "Your terms are unacceptable," Xerac stated, though his voice lacked conviction. "The Xeraxian Empire does not surrender." "This is not a surrender," Tanaka replied calmly. "This is an acknowledgement of reality. Your fleet is crippled. Your supply lines are cut. Your remaining outposts are isolated. And now, we've positioned our ships beyond your sensor range with weapons targeting your vessel's key systems." "You're bluffing," Xerac said, but without confidence. "Would you like another demonstration?" Tanaka asked. As if on cue, a precision strike hit the Dominion's secondary communication array, a non-essential system, but the message was clear. The humans knew exactly where to hit them, and they could do so at will. Xerac looked to Vizek, who gave the Xeraxian equivalent of a resigned nod. "Very well," Xerac conceded. "What are your terms?" "Simple. You will leave our solar system immediately. You will return to your empire with a new understanding. Earth and its colonies are not to be threatened. Ever. Additionally, you will release all technical data on your shield and weapon systems as reparation for the lives lost on Titan. And if we refuse,